Backrooms is one of those movies that I've appreciated more the longer I sat with it. And walking out of the theater, I wasn't entirely sure how I felt. Part of that is because this isn't a traditional horror movie. If you're expecting constant scares, relentless tension, or a movie that explains every mystery it introduces, you may find yourself frustrated. This is a slow, atmospheric experience that spends a lot of time creating a feeling rather than delivering answers. Now, before I get into what worked and what didn't, I should probably be upfront about something. I went into the Backrooms knowing almost nothing about the original series. I knew it was a huge internet phenomenon. I knew there was a fan base behind it, but beyond that, I was pretty much going in blind. So my perspective isn't coming from somebody who spent years following the lore. It's coming from somebody watching the movie as a movie. And as a movie, Backrooms is going to be incredibly divisive. This is not a scare machine. It's a slow psychological horror film that becomes more interesting the more you sit with it. The opening especially takes its time. The movie is more interested in creating a feeling than delivering scares. It wants you to sit inside the atmosphere, sit inside the mystery, and sit inside the uncertainty. The problem is that modern audiences aren't always interested in doing that. I could feel it in my screen. People were checking their phones throughout the movie. The guy sitting next to me was checking his phone. I counted at least 6 different screens lighting up in my field of vision during the screening. And every time the movie would settle into one of those quieter moments, another screen would appear. Now, that's not the movie's fault entirely, but it definitely affected my experience because Backrooms is the kind of film that asks for your full attention. This isn't a movie that's constantly throwing scares at you. It's trying to create a mood. It's trying to create unease. It's trying to get under your skin rather than make you jump out of your seat. And I completely understand why that's going to divide people. If you're looking for a traditional horror movie, there's a good chance you're going to find this boring. I could see that reaction online. The pacing is deliberate, the story is often ambiguous, and the film spends a lot of time letting the atmosphere do the heavy lifting. But at the same time, I found myself thinking about the movie more after it ended than while I was actually watching it. I went into this movie knowing almost nothing about the original Backrooms series, so I wasn't carrying years of expectations with me. I was simply watching the film on its own terms. What I found interesting is that the movie seems less interested in explaining the Backrooms and more interested in interpreting them. That's the key word for me, interpretation. The original concept became popular because of mystery, endless rooms, endless hallways, a place that feels wrong in ways that are difficult to explain. And this movie takes that idea and tries to build a human story around it. Whether that works for you is probably going to determine whether you love the movie or hate it. Some viewers are going to appreciate the psychological angle. Others are going to feel like the mystery was more effective when it stayed mysterious. Honestly, I can understand both sides. For me, I landed somewhere in the middle. I didn't love every minute of it, but I appreciated the ideas it was wrestling with. It's a movie that became more interesting the longer I sat with it. I found myself replaying scenes in my head, trying to connect pieces together, trying to understand what certain characters represented and what the backgrounds themselves were actually supposed to mean. And I enjoy movies that invite that kind of discussion. So while I don't think Backrooms completely worked for me as a horror movie, I do think it worked for me as a conversation piece. The movie interpreted the Backrooms, and whether you agree with that interpretation is probably the entire discussion surrounding the film. Now, if you haven't seen the movie yet, this is where I'd stop because I'm about to talk spoilers. Seriously, spoilers. My personal interpretation of the Backrooms is basically the manifestation of fractured minds, distorted memories, and psychological deterioration. The further I thought about the story, the more I wondered if the furniture store owner wasn't simply trapped in another dimension, but trapped inside the consequences of things he had done. In fact, my personal theory is that he may be actually a serial killer. Not because the movie explicitly tells us that, not because I can prove it, but when I started looking at the story through that lens, a lot of things began falling into place. The missing people, the distorted memory figures, the increasingly unstable behavior, the imagery surrounding death, and fragmentation on the creature that appears connected to him, all started feeling less like another dimension and more like a psychological prison. That interpretation on its also changed how I feel about the psychiatrist. Instead of seeing her as somebody entering the mystery, I started wondering if she was already a part of it. Maybe both characters are institutionalized. Maybe they're trapped inside the same psychological reality. Maybe the Backrooms aren't another world at all. Maybe they're fragmented minds trying to make sense of themselves. I could be completely wrong. That's just what I took away from it. And honestly, that's why I think the movie is interesting. Because even now, I'm still trying to piece it all together. I wasn't fully sold on the Backrooms, but the movie stayed with me, and I respect what it was trying to do. I appreciate you going on this film journey with me, and as always, be real.
All these rooms, this place builds them. It's like a maze. It just goes on and on.